I know I can't be the only person with BPD who constantly hears that saying, here today, gone tomorrow, out of sight, out of mind. I'm sure many of us who live with BPD know that saying a little too well. I want to share my experience with that saying, if that makes sense. BPD involves a shit ton of emotional miswiring. I've struggled to feel normal in my emotional responses and emotional reactions for as long as I can possibly remember. Lack of emotional permanence. That's what the term I'm describing is called. That feeling I'm describing is emotional impermanence, a lack of emotional permanence. Kind of how like object permanence, like a baby, if you hold something in front of their face and you pull it away, they don't know it exists. That's why peekaboo is so perfect for toddlers. Kind of the same thing when it comes to emotional permanence. It's hard for us to conceptualize the fact that emotions are still there for us if we're not actively experiencing said emotions. I can experience the pits of despair and the summits of hell one moment and then entirely forget that feeling ever existed. It's lack of emotional permanence. I know in theory that I've experienced previous pain, I've gone through previous trauma, I've made it out of there alive, and I've gone through some serious hardships. I've experienced grief, I've experienced sadness, I've experienced hopelessness, and I have enjoyed memories of joy and pride and happiness and stuff like that. I've gone on vacations and I've created such beautiful memories with family members and even people who aren't my family. I've created such cool experiences and new friendships within those circumstances. I love with all my heart, and then as soon as I get triggered, as soon as that fight or flight is activated, I've forgotten everything. I've been crushed, and it's like it never happened. It's like it never happened, and I don't know what that is. I just simply can't remember the feeling. And I feel like it's worse when you can't remember the feeling. You know you're causing pain in those around you in some way, but you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Like, that's what it feels like sometimes. My previous coping mechanisms, I found that I would pretend to just remember so I wouldn't burden the people, but at the same time that isn't making me feel any better. That isn't fixing the situation. Pretending that I know exactly what that feeling is and I don't feel like the most hated person on the planet is not helping anybody or anything. Especially in friendships, it can be so hard. Like, the smallest amount of space can feel like you guys have just like the worst falling out ever, and they never wanted anything to do with you in the first place, even though that is not always true. That is not always the case. And space for however amount of time, for whatever period, can be so helpful. I know the lack of emotional permanence is what drives and adds more fuel to that fire, but that's how a lot of relationships get ruined. And that's what worries me about creating more friendships and more relationships, because at the end of the day, I feel like I know I will forget the good times we've had and whenever there is a potential falling out or a conflict, and I don't want to have to go through that with someone. I don't want people to have to bear witness that, because I can't conceptualize that fact, and it's upsetting, but that's having BPD for you, right? Some people understand, some people don't, and relationships that do stand the test of BPD or whatever you want to call it, those I will always forever cherish for my entire life, because for you to be able to understand and see me on a different level that many people don't is very rare, and I never want to take that for granted, and so I try my best to let those people know that I love you so very much. Like, I refuse to give up because of those specific people, though they give me hope. They give me hope, and I love it so much. Like, I couldn't be more thankful for them in that way. But it's so disheartening, because I find whenever I do get triggered in that sense and it feels like they've never loved me ever in my life, then that's when I feel like there's that switch. I go from being overly emotional to being the most unemotional person you've ever met, to being the most like coldest cold shoulder. Like, you're never getting anything from me. Like, your personality privileges have been revoked. That's like, I shouldn't. It's just not cool. It's just not cool. My ways that I do cope with my emotional impermanence is I have a notebook of good memories and a scrapbook of Polaroids and pictures I've taken with people that I have cherished and I seem to experience more emotional impermanence with, because it's like a little reminder whenever I open it. I have little sticky notes. I have little messages that I've printed out and I taped in certain areas. I have a folder on my phone of reassuring messages from friends that I've received, along with silly photos. And my partner and I share a notebook that I write in whenever I get upset. He reads it. Sometimes he writes in it. Usually I'm the only person writing in it because I'm usually the one who's upset 9 times out of 10. Then when we read it, we go over it together, and that really helps. If I don't have to verbally take it out on you and risk ruining anything or breaking any sort of like trust bond or anything in the sort that could go bad. I don't have to risk that, and if anything, we can evaluate and analyze that and see how we can move forward from dealing with that. But that is something I just wanted to like ramble about. It's been affecting me a lot more recently, especially because I'm just more on high alert. I'm just more overprotective of myself because I'm really tired of getting hurt, and I'm ready to stay on business and get the best for myself in every way, and I'm fucking tired of anything that comes in the way of that goal. I just really am. Like it took me a while to get here, but I'm not one of those borderlines who don't want to recover. Like, you think I want to be in this mindset for the rest of my life? No, I want to change and I want to be the best version of myself possible. At the end of the day, that does take time. Fucking 9 years in therapy. Proud of myself, but damn, that's a lot of fucking time. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. Life's been rough recently, but that's for another day. I'll talk to you later, chat. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye!